So I'm here in Savannah, in a nice park, and I wanted to talk about forgiveness. It's a big issue. It just keeps coming up on my pages, and people talk about should I forgive, and how do I get over this pain, and it's forgiveness. And so the preachers and teachers tell you you have to forgive. You have to forgive. It's like this big thing, you got to forgive, or else you're going to carry that pain with you forever. But really, it's kind of a lie. The government wants you to forgive. The religion wants you to forgive, and your family and friends want you to forgive, because that keeps you as a victim. Something bad happens to you, and then you forgive who hurt you. And the reason why you do that is because you haven't got a goddamn thing that you can do about the pain that you're sitting in, right? So you say, am I going to be in this pain and turmoil, resentment, anger, or am I going to forgive them? So you forgive them, and then you own your anger and your pain and suffering. So that's the price of life, or something like that. But that's a total lie. The whole thing is a total lie. Goes back to what I say, that all suffering comes from a separation. And when you have an idea, a belief, which we call a judgment, that, let's say, for example, marriage is made in heaven, and when you make a vow to be with somebody, that you're going to be with them for the rest of your life, and then years down the road, things don't work out, and you have this belief of the way it's supposed to be, and then you get a divorce, and it's messy, and it's all that people who said that they loved you, or they don't love you anymore. It's like rage and resentment, and all this stuff comes up, and the house is torn apart, you're torn apart. And a lot of the pain comes from your belief that the marriage is supposed to be like this, and people are supposed to be like that. And that separation from the way it's supposed to be, which is a judgment, and the way it is the pain. So what to do? What to do is forgive yourself, okay? It was your judgments, you got into the situation, and you got hurt by the circumstances that didn't match your reality, okay? So you forgive yourself, right? And what this does when you forgive yourself is you're no longer going to be a victim, you're going to be in power, okay? So if it's a divorce, you can forgive yourself for not knowing in advance. You can forgive yourself for not seeing it coming. You can forgive yourself for believing in what shouldn't have been believed in, yeah, and forgive yourself for not knowing enough. When you give yourself forgiveness, that puts you in power and control, because you're doing something. You're forgiving yourself for your mistakes, or for your involvement, for your responsibility in this thing, even though it looked like they were the perpetrators and you're the victim. The victim has to buy into it. So you bought into it, and then you got hurt, okay? Now, what's the opposite? What the world wants you to do is to forgive others. So we have, 230 years or so of war, that the government is out killing people, and every war is for no reason. Now, there's no reason historically, really, for any war, so we forgive them, right? Oh, well, that's the government, that's what government do, they're at war. We forgive them. That puts us in the sheep victim mode, right? Or the husband who's nasty, psychopath, narcissist, or whatever, and we forgive him, right? Well, that keeps society stable, right? You end up eating it. You eat all this turmoil and rage and resentment and hurt and guilt and shame and all that kind of crap. You eat it, and you surrender to that, and then you become a victim. I'm in victim mode now. So then the next man he comes along, you're going to forgive him too for whatever he does. See, that puts you in a victim mode. When you forgive yourself, you're not a victim. Let me put it in another way. There's not just you and him, or you and them. It's like the family, you know. Somebody dies, and then all the family turn into like hellcats, and they're trying to divide up the money and divide up the property and stuff. And it's like, that's not what a family is all about. And then everybody gets all wounded, their wounds come out, and it's just a nightmare, see? So, but inside you, it's not just you. Okay, we have these four parts: spirit, heart, will, and body. And the will is our emotional body, okay? So, imagine your will, your emotional body, as your inner child, okay? It is a part of you, but it is separate from you. It is what feels the feelings for you. Will feels the feelings for you, and that allows you to either acknowledge them or not acknowledge them. Now, let's say the same scenario with the divorce or something, and the man or the woman who's the perpetrator hurts your inner child, right? So, the real victim is your will, the inner child, the deep feminine, your emotional body. That's the victim. And the perpetrator is this man or woman who's done all this dirt, right? Now, if you're in the position where you have no other recourse, you don't have any tools or technology, you don't have any understanding or any modality, but to forgive them, it's like holding on to the child's hand after they've been abused by this person, right? And then you say to the person, I forgive you for molesting my child, for hurting my child, for attacking or being a perpetrator of pain for my child. You forgive them. How ridiculous is that? You see the feeling of that? So here you are as a responsible adult, forgiving the person who hurt your inner child, who hurt your child. That's what society wants. That's what the government wants. That's what religion wants, because it keeps you in a victim mode and keeps you, anything. The way society works is anything that is put on you, you're supposed to surrender, yeah, and be the victim of. Be the victim of the taxes, the victim of the laws, the regulations, be the victim of this war and the economy and all this kind of stuff, and the homelessness, all this stuff. They want you to be the victim of that. And so in order to do that, you have to forgive them, right? So forgiveness has been sold to us like a bag of rocks for I don't know how long. You don't ever have to forgive anybody for anything. What calls for forgiveness is the pain in your emotional body. If you have pain in your emotional body, then that means somebody caused it. Either you caused it or they caused it, right? So it's that pain is the call to action. And in this case, everybody's telling you, the society's telling you to forgive and forget, right? And move on. Well, your emotional body doesn't ever move on. It feels that. It is now a victim, and it will be a victim until you stand up for it. Okay, now as a responsible adult who wants to heal your emotional body, you do not forgive anybody anything. You take responsibility for your side and forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for getting blindsided. Forgive yourself for falling for the tricks. Forgive yourself for not being wise enough. Forgive yourself for being wounded and having this perpetrator match your wounds and trigger your wounds. See, forgive yourself for not being healed. So only and powerfully and profoundly forgiving yourself is what you need to do to heal you, which is what heals your inner child, which is what heals your will. And when your will finally gets that, it's not your fault, it's not her fault, nobody's fault, then the pain goes. When the pain goes, there's nothing left to forgive. And that's where you want to be. You want to be in a place of power, not a victim. You want to be in a place of power with nothing left to forgive, and to be in a place where you are guiding and protecting your inner child, not sacrificing your inner child. This is what happens when you have bad relationships, or bad things happen over and over again. That's like offering your inner child up as a sacrifice to this world. and you forget, and because your inner child is a victim, you feel like a victim. That's the way it is. That's hard knock life, or the world sucks, or however the judgments that you have that are forming this box for you to live in perpetual pain. That comes from forgiving on the outside. Turn that around 180 degrees and only forgive on the inside. Now, it may take longer, right? But then you don't have to carry around denial for the rest of your life. You don't have to be in a victim mode for the rest of your life, and you don't have to carry around this wounded inner child crap. You know, that it's too much. You're an adult now, and you can take care of yourself. So there's a lot of confusion about forgiveness, and everybody talks about forgiveness. Well, I'll give you an example. When you do ho'onoponopono, right? That is only directed at your belly, only directed at yourself. You know, I love you, please forgive me, thank you, right? You say that to yourself until the issues, the static, the discord, the disharmony is gone, is released, right? That's the same idea as self-forgiveness. You forgive yourself, you apologize to yourself, and you make certain that you're never going to do that again, right? You're not going to go to the same guy or the same woman, the same wildcat or the same insane person again and again and again. You're not going to do that anymore, because you're responsible for not only you, but your emotional body. You're responsible for your heart, you're responsible for your will, your spirit, and your whole body, right? So I wanted to set the record straight so that people understand that this is what forgiveness is all about. It's self-forgiveness, because it was ultimately it's your responsibility what went down, and the healing of the aftermath.